Hi everyone, welcome to another movie of the week, and the movie of this week was Borg vs. McEnroe from 2017, so if you haven't watched it, watch it now. If this is your first movie of the week, what I do is I talk about a movie here, you guys comment below your thoughts, and at the end of every video I say the movie for next week so you can follow along. So as always, I am so hot in my room. Should have told my mom to turn on my air conditioner before I came home, but it was a little bit cooler out today. So I was like, you know, it's gonna be fine, and now I'm dying. So let's just get into it. Now, tennis movies. This is my favorite tennis movie, and we're gonna get into it. I am someone who's very critical of tennis movies, and there's not many, but there's very easily a line between. It's like, oh my God, it's so hot in here. Okay. Hopefully I don't pass out while doing this. Okay, so there's a clear line between tennis movies. One where the actors actually can play tennis, and one where they can't. And the ones where they can't, they like, you know, try to have it through like the angles and stuff to not really show their form. But you can, like, if you follow tennis or play tennis or whatever, you like know what correct form is, or like I at least hope you do. Oh my God, I'm gonna pass out. You know what, for this one, we're gonna try with the AC on and we're gonna see what happens. I'll put in the lowest mode. Okay, we're back. I put the AC on, and while I'm editing this, if you can't hear me, I apologize, and maybe I will then, I don't know, sometime reshoot this, I don't know, but I was like literally about to pass out because I'm so hot. Okay, so there's not that many tennis movies, but it just like makes me so angry when a tennis movie, and it's clear that they don't know how to play tennis. It just makes me so mad. It just makes me mad. Because I feel like maybe it's easier to fake it with other sports. The tennis, like, it's just so clear when they can't play. So what I really like in tennis movies where, you know, the actors actually train and they actually show it. They're actually good. So this is a tennis movie where the actors trained and they were actually good. Now this is my favorite tennis movie because, like, it's just like I don't even know how to start to talk about how good it is. But I mean, it's based off a true story, if you guys didn't know. But this was like, what was it, 1980? So like 20 years before I was even born. And you know, like nowadays, like if you're a tennis watcher now, like you see John McEnroe, he's like, sometimes, well, he's actually, we'll get this more into later, but sometimes he like coaches, but he like is more like an announcer. And so it's just like, it's just crazy. Anyway, why this movie is so good. It kind of goes to like what tennis is, and what's different about tennis from a lot of other sports is like a lot of other sports are like team sports. Team sports, so like basketball, football, soccer, baseball, volleyball, whatever. There's only a few like individual sports. There's more team sports. So other individual sports are swimming, you know, gymnastics, horseback, I don't know, but like even when you're like swimming or gymnastics, a lot of times you were also still kind of on a team, which I guess in a way, like, because like for the Olympics, like those swimming, they're on a, well, those are just relays. So I guess in the same way, it's kind of like tennis where sometimes you're playing doubles or like you're on a team. But you know, okay, those are individual sports, but I guess kind of like, it's also different, but I guess same with some of these other individual sports is like literally like every single point you either win or lose. And like one of my old teammates who's like also one of my best friends, like she once was like saying to someone, and like I didn't realize, like with tennis, like it's really, it's not like, you know, soccer where you're kicking on the ball and then like every so often someone scores or someone like saves a goal. Like it's literally like every second, every point is like do or die. And that's kind of like with swimming, like every race, like you either win or you don't. And kind of with gymnastics, like it's also like ice skating, like it's like every single move you're gonna, like, you know, jump you're gonna make, like you either gotta make it or you don't. So it's kind of the same way with tennis. And I kind of, you know, I played a lot of sports growing up, and I always had tennis in the background. I didn't focus on tennis like till I kind of like got to high school like that much, because I was so focused on other sports. But the reason I started going into tennis more is because I just like couldn't be on a team anymore. It's something about like relying on other people, which like obviously high school and college, like I'm on a team, but it's kind of like in that moment, it's like, you know, I just like something about like playing by yourself, which was kind of what took me more into tennis. And so really it's like tennis is like such an individual sport where it's like it's really on yourself, and it's like I said, like every point, like you either lose or you don't. And I think what's also different about tennis from gymnastics or swimming is kind of swimming, it's like one race and then you're over, or gymnastics is like one performance and you're over. But like tennis is like, matches are like 2 hours long, so it's like a lot of like so many points of like you gotta win or you don't. And so I think tennis is like you gotta move your hands, you gotta move your feet, and you gotta move your brain. I love how I'm going off about tennis for like 5 minutes, not even talking about the movie. You should listen to my other tennis podcast with my mom, but it's on this channel. Anyway, tennis, yeah, those 3 things. And so I really think like tennis is such a mentality sport, and I think especially like pro tennis players, like at that point, they're all like skill-wise the same level. Like they, you know, when they're that good, they're all skill-wise same level. The ones that set each other apart is the ones with the, it's all mental game once you get to that level. It's like who has it, who doesn't. And so it's this thing where in tennis, like after you lose a point, because you're not, there's no tennis player that's ever, even like, I'm trying to think, even like even times I've like in high school or whatever, college, I'm playing someone who's like really, really bad, and like let's say I like, you know, bagel them, which means like I win 8-0 or like 6-0, whatever you want to do. Like they still once in a while win a point. Like you're always, you know, you're always gonna lose some point. So it's kind of how like when you lose a point, how do you keep going? If you lose a game, if you get broken, if your game gets broken, which means that means you're serving and you lost that game, that's what broken means, then like how do you keep going? After you lose a set, how do you keep going? And so you have to like push through. And so I had a really bad, getting more into me, I got a really bad mental game, and then it kind of like in the pandemic, kind of like we didn't have that many matches, so I was practicing more, and then I also got a new mental game where then I started slamming rackets, which is so bad. And when I think about it, I'm like cringe, because it's like I was slamming rackets during my match, but like I was winning. Like I was winning. I was slamming my rackets. It made me win. So obviously like mental game is some work, because it's like, yeah, like obviously my mental game improved and stuff, but then I was like slamming rackets. So it's just like something where it's so mentally, and people like don't understand and don't see. And so getting back to this movie, why this movie is so great is because it really shows like the mental toughness. It really does. And so like when you see movies like King Richard, like that's about their dad, like ugh. And then Battle of Sexes, you know, it was more about like, you know, how like tennis was, you know, still like the inequality between the sexes in tennis. But this one really showed like how tennis is such a mental game. And I really loved how they showed flashbacks from when they were kids, because what's crazy and such a difference, but so why it was also great they took this story because, you know, these players were 2 different guys. You know, you had the one guy, Born, I'm gonna say his name wrong, I apologize, because you are a real person and I'm saying your name wrong. Anyway, so he, you know, he was like this perfect, composed guy. He showed no emotion, he just played. He was flawless, he was effortless. He won 4 Wimbledons in a row. And you know, he was just thinking about leaving tennis. And they did a really good job. I love, like, it's important with movies, you know, they show things, the context, but they don't say it. And I was talking to my coworkers today about Barbie, because like, obviously like Barbie was great, Barbie was amazing, but I felt like Barbie said too many things what they wanted to say without showing it. And I felt like they were also showing it, so it also felt a little bit too much what they were saying it. But I understand sometimes people are talking, so they have to say it. But anyway, I love how this movie didn't say it, they just showed it. And so, you know, it was a lot of like him kind of like being like, I don't know if I want this to be his life, which like tennis players, like when you get into this is your life, this is what you gotta do. So, but then you kind of, what's crazy is then you see like like when he was younger. Oh wait, let me talk about John a little bit. John McEnroe. So he was the complete opposite. He was, you know, screaming. And so that's the thing about tennis, is also tennis is so different than a lot of these other sports. And I'm gonna get into that, because tennis, it's all about being a gentleman. It's always about being composed and all those things. It's like, you can't slam your racket like I was. Tennis is a gentleman's sport. I don't know why that was started. Like when they were designing tennis, or when it got started, or whatever, how it kind of came to be. I mean, it makes sense, because, you know, you'd be slamming all your rackets all the time, you know, it's very individual. Like, I think that's what's different in all these other sports. Like, I think especially with like football or hockey, where it's like, you know, it's very, very, very aggressive, because kind of like there's so many players and so many things happening that you can be aggressive, and that's part of the game. For tennis, it's not like that. It's about, you're also like, tennis, you're not touching each other at all. That's why it's very different than football or hockey, where it's a very contact sport. Tennis is not a contact sport at all. You're on opposite ends, basically. So it's like very different with the gentleman sport angle. And also important, they showed that he, like, when he was a kid, he played hockey, which I'm gonna get into that in a second. But John, he was the complete opposite. And also John, like, he was probably like, I don't know my tennis history that well, but maybe he was like one of the first people who like, you know, the air gave me life, the air gave me life. We're going. I really hope you can hear me, because I'm talking like mad good here, and then if I have to redo this, it's not gonna be the same quality. So I hope this is good. I hope you can hear me. Anyway, so John, he was the complete opposite. He was screaming and stuff, and he was, I don't know, like maybe he was like one of the first, or is the first, or one of the first, like at this time, who like wasn't a gentleman, or like who was like, are you serious? Like, you know, we're gonna talk about him and Nick later, but anyway, so he's complete opposite. But then you kind of see in flashbacks, but Jordan used to be like that. He was the one who was screaming. He was like kind of even more awful than John was. And so, you know, he was also playing hockey, so it's kind of like they brought up the hockey thing, and so it's kind of this thing where like someone saw the potential in him, saw him how he could play, and just was like, we just need to fix this, we need to fix this, and was able to like do that, which is crazy. But although like he like fixed him so well that he just kept it on, and then you kind of saw as the movie went along, like he was exploding. He like fell in the shower or something, like he like would throw up, like you would see it. Anyway, so then you kind of also, I feel like it was more focused on Bjorn, the story a little bit, but you kind of also saw John, like he, for some reason when he was a kid, like you see how like his parents like expected so much from him. They're like, you got 96 out of 100. He's like, but I was the best in my class. And they were like, that's not good enough. You should have got 100 out of 100. And I'm like, I felt that, because that's how my parents were too. It's like that pressure of the parents that keeps going. And so like, then also like the fact that he was like a math genius and could, anyway, I don't know if that's actually true, like if he could do all those numbers, whatever. But I think it was like so much pressure on himself. And so like he, you know, it's how you deal with the pressure. And you see these two different players, they both had that pressure, they both deal with it, but how they express it like differently. And so I felt this, I've watched this movie obviously like a few times now, like I don't even know how many times, maybe like 5, but I definitely felt it more, I saw it and noticed it more this time than other times, how close comparison John is to Nick Kyrgios. And so like Nick Kyrgios is kind of the John McEnroe of this generation, I feel like, where he's screaming and stuff. And so what I found was most noticeable between the two was how John McEnroe, he like fed off that, like when things would not go his way and he started screaming, he would just serve an ace. Nick is exactly that way, where, you know, he's frustrated, he's mad, so he just starts serving aces. They kind of beat off it. And so they were like, also they were like saying like, John, you're a circus, and like just all those things, like they say that to Nick nowadays, which is why it's so great, like when like John coaches Nick in the Labor Cup or whatever. Anyway, if you don't know who Nick Kyrgios is, you should look him up. Anyway, so, but you know, you see, I think, and it just like, it's crazy, like the last act, the last 30 minutes is that match. And they also, I feel like the cinematography was amazing too. Like, it's very hard to film tennis. Tennis is not an easy sport to film, which is why people, when they try to film people playing tennis when they suck, not a good job. It's so easy to tell when they suck because it's hard to film. But I feel like they did an amazing job filming it. And like, I can't imagine actually watching this during the time, like that tiebreaker in the fourth set, what was it, 18-16? It's so crazy. Anyway, but I've been going on a lot. Oh, I'm out of breath. Thank God I turned on the AC. This is a long video. Anyway, I just think it's really important. Like, I feel like everyone should watch this movie to understand tennis. Like, that's why I am obsessed with tennis. Like, I think tennis is the greatest sport because it's the most mental, like, it's just the mental game. And this film showed it, and they need more films like this where they show it. And so, like, you can really take like any crazy match of anything and just kind of show perspectives of like how, like, kind of in the same way this film did. And I kind of liked like the Breakpoint show because I felt like it was for people who are big tennis fans, know these players already, and also for people who don't really know tennis. And I think they did a really good job explaining tennis, like showing like all these different people, and like I've watched interviews a lot of these players, like sometimes I follow them on Instagram, but like to really kind of show behind the scenes like how they were feeling a lot of the times, and like so many different perspectives too. Like, it was really amazing to see, and like I definitely cried a few times watching Breakpoint. I don't know if I cried watching this movie, but anyway, so I just think tennis is like just kind of an amazing sport, and like people need to watch it, and like I will do my part of having this be movie of the week, telling people they need to watch this film, showing them how amazing this film is, and how they did. I feel like that's what they did. They had the right story and they told it the right way. That is what it is, because a lot of times people have good stories but they just don't tell them the right way, like don't pick it the right filmmaking style or whatever, or you know, do a really good filmmaking style, but the story is not strong. It just, everything fit with this. This was just amazing. Whoever the director, writer, like, should know these things more. Like, you guys did your part. Anyway, I've been going off about Borg versus McEnroe, but hopefully you guys will watch it. Anyway, gearing up for the US Open. I'm going at least 3 days confirmed and 2 days at the practice round. So, first round, second round, and third round are the days I'm going, not in a row. But anyway, so you guys better watch Borg versus McEnroe, and you better comment below what you think about Borg versus McEnroe. This is probably my longest movie of the week. And then the movie for next week is Notting Hill from 1999, so very different. But anyway, thank you guys for watching. Like, subscribe. Make sure you watch Notting Hill for next week, and make sure you comment below your thoughts about Borg versus McEnroe. And bye.